So when you think about hemp, you probably picture a crop, right? Something you grow and then harvest. But what if I told you that in some of the most advanced farming systems out there, hemp isn't just a crop, it's the entire operating system? This one sentence, pulled straight from the Hybrick's Natural Farming Manifesto, it just flips the whole script on agriculture. It's a paradox, really. The idea that you get the most value from this plant, not by harvesting it, but by taking it apart piece by piece. And that's the big question we're diving into today. How can that possibly work? We're going to follow the logic of this incredible system and see how dismantling a single plant into its core parts can build a powerful, self-sufficient, and seriously resilient farm. Okay, so to really get this, first, we need to understand that there are two totally different ways to look at a hemp plant. Now, this slide really lays it all out. On the left, you've got the standard industrial model. To them, hemp is just a commodity. It's a fiber crop. Maybe it's a drug crop. It's simple, it's transactional. But on the right, in what's called the Biological Operating System, or BOS, well, it becomes this dynamic tool. It's the farm's lipid engine, it's the structural carbon. See the difference? It's not a product anymore, it's a process. So, let's start with that first concept, the lipid engine. This is all about the hemp seed and the unbelievable power that's locked inside its oil. The whole goal here is to get the plant to what's called level 3 plant health. And we're not just talking about keeping it alive, we're talking about making it physically armored. This lipid shield is basically a glossy, waxy layer on the leaf, built from hemp oils, that works like a raincoat. Fungal spores, things like mildew, they literally can't get a grip. They just beat up and roll right off. So you might be asking, why hemp oil? Why not something else? Well, it's because it's the perfect raw material. It has the ideal ratio of omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. This means the plant doesn't have to waste its own energy building these complex fats from scratch. We're essentially handing it prefabricated building blocks. That frees up the plant's energy so it can focus on building up its own immune system. And for veganic systems, it's a total game changer, replacing animal-based lipids. And here's how they actually do it, which is just brilliant. First, they press the oil from the seeds. And get this, rancid, unsellable oil is actually perfect for this job. Second, and this is absolutely the key, they emulsify that oil with something called fulvic acid. You can think of fulvic acid as the master key. It makes the plant's cell membranes more permeable, basically acting like a delivery truck that carries those big, heavy lipid molecules right inside the plant. Then they spray it on the leaves at disc. And the proof? You check it 24 hours later, and water should sit on that leaf in perfect little spheres. Okay, so that's the seed oil, the lipid engine. Now let's talk about the rest of the plant, the stalk and the roots. In this system, this is called structural carbon, and it's basically the architectural foundation for the entire ecosystem. This is another one of those moments where you just have to completely shift your thinking. The woody biomass that's left over after harvest, it's not a disposal problem. It's the primary building material for creating a permanent, thriving home for all the life in your soil. And how we process that biomass is critical. I mean, it changes everything. If we just burn it to ash, all that carbon is lost to the atmosphere and the structure is completely destroyed. But through a process called pyrolysis, which is basically a low-oxygen burn, we create biochar. This process doesn't destroy the structure. It immortalizes it, banking that carbon in the soil for good. And this is the result. Hemp biochar, with its super porous structure, becomes something like a condominium complex or maybe a coral reef for microbes. It gives them a permanent home, protecting all those good fungi and bacteria from being washed away or eaten. This microbial reef also holds 2.7 times its own weight in water, which, you can imagine, is a complete game changer when it comes to drought resistance. All right, so we've built the shield, we've housed the microbes, now it's time to close the loop. And we do that with the third piece of our dismantled plant, the seed meal that's left over after pressing the oil. Just take a look at this chart. It shows that the hemp seed meal, the stuff that most people would consider waste, actually has a higher concentration of crude protein than the whole seeds did to begin with. So we haven't created waste at all. We've created a protein concentrate, a superfood for all those microbes we just built a house for. And this quote just captures the philosophy perfectly. It's that whole buffalo approach. Just like indigenous cultures used every single part of the buffalo, this system uses every single anatomical fraction of the hemp front. The oil, the stalk, the meal, every single component gets put to work to build the health of the farm. So, when you start putting all these pieces together, you realize this is way beyond simple farming techniques. You're actually constructing a lasting biological legacy. This phrase right here, apart we shall perish, this is really the philosophical core of the entire system. It's a rejection of human control. It's about aligning with that invisible web of life on the forest floor. So dismantling the plant isn't an act of dominance, it's an act of service to that microbial world we just built a home for. And that brings the cycle full circle. The lipids build the plant's physical shield, the carbon builds a permanent home for the soil life, and the protein feeds that soil life, which powers the entire soil engine. It's a perfect, self-reinforcing loop. And ultimately, this whole system is what's called the Western Adaptation. It's a strategy for achieving true biological sovereignty. By creating its own lipid engine for plant defense and its own structural carbon for soil life, a farm completely frees itself from depending on outside inputs. Everything it needs comes from one single locally grown plant. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about. This framework transforms a simple plant from a commodity into a powerful tool. It turns every single part of it, especially its so-called waste, into a high-value asset. So it makes you wonder, what else, in our fields, in our industries, even in our own lives, are we looking at as trash when it could actually be the key to building a much better system?